Hello everyone, I'm Dan and welcome to the Valley and Peak YouTube channel. So in this video, it's just a short one. I want to go through my ultralight winter setup. I'll take you through how I pack my rucksack and go through the items I typically take on a wild camp. So the conditions at the moment in North Wales dropped to about -1, but I used this setup last night and temperatures dropped to around about -3, -4. So not terribly cold, but winter is definitely setting in. So this setup might not be for everyone. So please only use this as a guideline. If you feel that you are a cold sleeper, you might want to upgrade your sleeping pad, quilt or sleeping bag and take more clothes. But this is what I typically take. If I am going to experience really cold conditions, I will just swap out my sleep system. But the rest of it will probably remain the same, depending on what the weather's like and how windy it is. So I'll go through my complete winter loadout, and then if you've got any questions at all about this setup, please go to the comments below. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have, or if you've got any tips as well for me. It's always helpful picking up tips from other people. So let's go straight into it. So the first thing I do is I line my rucksack. I'm using the Bonfus 58 litre pack, the Framus. It is waterproof to an extent, but just to make sure, I tend to just line my rucksack. You can use a bin bag, a dry bag, anything really that is waterproof. So the first thing I do is I just line my rucksack. Next, the first thing that goes into my pack is my sleep pad. This is the big Agnes Rapide. It's got an R value of 4.8, so perfect for these type of conditions at the moment. But if it did get a little bit cold, -10, -20, I would upgrade my sleeping pad. But for most nights throughout the winters in the UK, this will more than do the job for me. So I fold it like this. This adds extra back support, especially if I'm using a pack without a frame. So this goes in first. And I've also got the stuff sack that comes with the mat. I tend to use this in the winter months as moisture build-up in the mat can affect its R value rating. In the summer, it's not too bad, but in the colder months, I tend to take this just to be on the safe side. It's a little bit too small to use as a stuff sack, but sometimes pads come with a bag that's big enough to actually use as a pack liner. So this goes in next, right next to my pad. The next items I'll put in my pack is my quilt. So I tend to pack my rucksack in the order I'll need the items first. So my sleeping bag or quilt, I tend to need that only when my tent is pitched and I'm ready to settle in for the night. So the next thing that goes into my pack is my sleeping bag. But one thing I do like to do before I put my quilt or sleeping bag into its pack is I just find the foot box. And then all my warm clothing that I will need, like spare socks, base layers, will go into the foot box. I'll stuff that in. That way, when I do break for camp, I know exactly where everything is. So first off is a pair of warm socks for when I'm in my quilt. I've gone with a pair of Micro Crew mid-weight darn toughs. Also, my pillow it makes sense to keep my pillow and my quilt together. So I've gone with the Sea to Summit Aeros ultralight pillow. So I just basically roll that up and put that in the foot box as well. Next off is my base layers. I've gone with the Farpointe Alpha Cruiser base layers. They are incredibly warm, lightweight, and really comfortable next to the skin. So these go in last. So I make sure everything's at the bottom of the foot box, and then I'll just simply stuff the quilt into the pack. Okay, so the reason why I do this and I don't use a stuff sack for my quilt or sleeping bag is I like to fill all the gaps in at the bottom of the pack. I don't like big balls of kit in my pack. I find it uncomfortable. So this is just a personal preference, but I do find just stuffing your sleeping bag or quilt into the bottom of your pack like this, it does evenly distribute the weight, and it does fill in every little gap of the pack. So the quilt in question is the Thermarest Vespa 20. It's rated down to -6. So -6 is the sleeping bag's limit, and it's got a comfort rating of 0 degrees. I've taken this quilt down to -4. That is probably pushing the quilt to its limits, if I'm honest. I still felt okay, but if it got a little bit colder, or if it was forecast a little bit colder, I would take a warmer quilt or sleeping bag. So the next thing that goes into my pack will be my what's called a ditty bag. So these are the items like my electricals. I usually put my first aid kit in there, power bank, head torch, that sort of thing. So I use a insulated pouch for my ditty bag. This doubles up also as a food cozy. I'm a big fan of items with multiple uses, and this is one of them. It just speeds up the cooking process when I do prepare my dehydrated meals. So I've got a power bank. This is just an Energizer power bank, quite a generic, no frills power bank, and this will give me the ability to charge my phone, my watch, and also if I'm making content, it gives me enough power for the evening. In goes my head torch and my charging cables. I also sometimes pack a water filter during the winter, and that goes in as well. I'm using the Platypus quick draw. Now there's one thing to know is if you are using a water filter in the winter, if it does freeze, it becomes no good and you won't be able to filter your water. So always try and prevent your water filter from freezing. So I place this in my insulated pouch. If I do need water when I'm hiking, I just have to simply just dig my bag out. During the night, I keep this in this insulated pouch and I sleep with this in my quilt. Next off is my toilet kit. I've gone with a Tent Lab Juice 2 trowel, extremely lightweight but really strong, and some toilet paper. Usually in the summer months, I tend to take a small bidet which screws onto my disposable water bottle, but for the winter months, splashing water on your bum is a little bit too uncomfortable, so I just take some toilet paper. I place these items in a Ziploc bag. So the next thing that goes into my insulated pouch is my first aid kit. This contains a tent repair kit, plasters, a blister kit and ointments, just in case I burn myself on the stove. It's very, very lightweight, but it contains everything I will need. This is from Common Gear and it's called the First Aid and Repair Kit. So in this kit goes some lip balm. I tend to get chapped lips when it's cold, so this comes in handy. Also in this kit is a small pocket knife, a Bic lighter and enough poo bags so I can, when I do go to the toilet, I can take my waste out with me. Best to use scented doggy poo bags, that way your pack doesn't tend to smell. So this first aid kit goes in this Ziploc bag as well, and I place everything in the insulated pouch. And that goes into my pack next. Next off is my stove. I've gone with the MSR Titan kettle. This is 900 ml. Inside I'm using the Soto Amicus Stove. I find it super lightweight for the power it does generate, and I tend to use this all year round. And I usually go with the MSR gas canister. I use a little strap to keep everything in place, and this goes in next. I also use a windbreaker for my stove. This is just a homemade windshield from a turkey oven tray. Super cheap, and it does the job. That goes in next. It's also good to mention that I have folded the ends so there's no sharp bits on the windshield, so it won't damage any of my kit inside my pack. So the last item I put in my pack to keep waterproof is my insulated jacket. I'm wearing it this morning, but it would be a little bit too hot to hike in, so this would go in next. So all the things that I do not want to get wet is now in a waterproof bag. I'll just simply screw this, twist this bag and push all the items down. So now I'll put items in my pack that I do not mind getting wet, or if they're in their own waterproof bag. So one little tip I also do with my insulated jacket, I'll put my hat and a pair of gloves in the pocket. So if I do stop to get some water or just to take some, just to eat some food, I can put my gloves on and my hat straight away, and I know exactly where they are. So the next item that goes into my my pack, which I don't mind getting wet, is my food bag. This will contain all the food I need for the duration of the trip, and also snacks for when I am hiking. This goes in next, and when I do stop, it's quickly accessible. I'm not having to go through all my gear just to find something to eat. So my food goes in next. So the last item that goes into my pack is the tent itself. So this is the Durstin X-Mid Pro 2. This is the one with a DCF floor. So it comes in at round about 510 grams, so super lightweight. And obviously this will be the first item I will need when I break for camp, so it's handy to have your tent at the top of your pack, especially when it's raining. So this will go in next. And then I will simply just seal the pack. So the next thing I put on top is my sit pad. This comes on every single wild camp with me. It's perfect to kneel on, to sit on. When you are operating your stove, you have got something to sit on. So rather than taking a camp chair, I just take a small foam pad. This is from Nemo. It's made of recycled plastic, very eco-friendly. So it's all their offcuts in the factory. They just put it all together and make these little sit pads. So I cinch this onto the top of my pack. Like that. So everything that goes on the outside of my pack now is items that I genuinely want to get access to straight away without having to go into the pack itself. So my waterproof jacket, that goes in the front pouch because when I'm hiking and it does rain, I want to be able to get to it pretty much straight away. So that goes into the front pouch. And if it has forecast really heavy rain, I'll just simply pack waterproof bottoms as well, and they'll go into the front pouch also. And I also put my ground sheet of my tent in the front pouch also. This keeps the rest of my gear in my pack nice and clean. I just use a homemade polycro sheet. This is more to keep my tent floor from getting dirty, but because it's a DCF floor, it helps with the floor getting punctured by sharp rocks. In the polycro sheeting, I wrap my tent pegs. I tend to use these all year round. These are the Eastern backpackers. They are 9" in length. So they get wrapped into the polycro sheeting. And that also gets stuffed in the front pouch. On the side of the pack, I've got a water bottle. Now I'm not hitting temperatures at the moment where the water is freezing, but I tend to use this bottle all through the year and I've had no issues with water freezing. I just keep it close to my body, make sure the lid is securely on, and I've never had any issues. If I do want to prevent the water from freezing, I simply tip the bottle upside down, put it in my trainer, and that way if the water does start to freeze, it will freeze from the top, keeping the mouthpiece of the bottle free from frozen water, so I can have access to it even if the water does start to freeze. So that goes into my side pouch, and that is a 1.5 litre water bottle. I tend to find that 1.5 litres is more than enough for what I need during the night. If I'm not close to any water sources, or if I know I'm going to struggle with water, I will just simply take another bottle and bring in water with me. So the last items on my list are my trekking poles. I use these to hike with and also pitch in my tent as it's a trekking pole tent. These are the Black Diamond Alpine corks. I've had these for a number of years now. I've probably covered about 1,000 miles on them, and they are absolutely solid. Probably one of the best pieces of kit I own. So these don't contribute to the weight of the overall pack because they are in my hands, they're not on my back, and they are aiding me with my hiking. So I'll keep these poles at hand because I'm about to hike out from this location. So my overall pack, it comes in at 5.1 kilo. That's all the food, but minus the water. I don't tend to carry water with me. I much prefer to get water on the go. So that's 5.1 kilo without water, but that does include all my food. So this is what I typically take on a winter camp. Also subjective as well. This is what works for me, but it might not necessarily work for you. So please just use this as a guideline only. Like I said before, if the temperatures do get a lot colder, or I do experience rain or heavy snow, I will swap out certain pieces of gear, like my sleep system, or if I'm in an exposed windy part, I'll probably swap out the tent for a more focused winter 4-season tent, but the principles are still the same. So that is how I pack my rucksack. I'm just about to hike back to the car. Now I'm a little bit cold because I have been stood around, so no doubt I'll probably start heating up. So I will take this this jacket off on my way back. It's paramount, especially in the winter, that you try and regulate your temperature. So it's vitally important not to overheat during the winter months, because the sweat, that could contribute to hypothermia setting in. So it's really, really important to regulate your body temperature by wearing multiple but thin layers. So thank you so much for joining me on this video. I hope it's giving you some ideas on how to pack for your wild camp. And if you have got any tips or ways that will make my setup that little bit more refined, please put your comments in below. I've been Dan, this has been Valley and Peak, and thank you for joining me.